Hey everybody, it's Jeff from Yawk and welcome back to part 3 of the summer series, Jeff's Driving Around New York City with you guys. By the way, before it gets out of my shot, that building in front of us, that skyscraper that looks like it's having a meltdown, used to be called the Beekman Tower. Now it's just known as 8 Spruce Street. When it was built, it was one of the largest residential buildings in the world, and it met critical acclaim. Lots of critics said they loved the way it looks. Others said it was extremely ugly. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Well, actually, it's way behind us now. You got to be quick when you're driving around New York City. Feel free to rewind and leave a comment. So this is the third video in this series. The first one was driving down Fifth Avenue. The second one was driving around Little Italy and Chinatown. Today we're going to drive over the Brooklyn Bridge and into the Dumbo section of Brooklyn.
Hey, what'd you call me?
He called you a Dumbo.
Why, I oughta...
Relax, guys. Dumbo's an acronym for a neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I'm not going to tell you what it stands for until we get there, so stay tuned. The Brooklyn Bridge is a hybrid cable-stayed suspension bridge in New York City spanning the East River between the boroughs of Manhattan and Brooklyn. The bridge opened on May 24th, 1883. This is an old bridge, guys. The Brooklyn Bridge was the first fixed crossing of the East River. It was also the longest suspension bridge in the world at the time of its opening, with a main span of almost 1,600 feet and a deck that's 127 feet above the river. The span was originally called the New York and Brooklyn Bridge, or the East River Bridge, but it was officially renamed the Brooklyn Bridge in 1915. We're in Brooklyn right now, and the Dumbo section pretty much stretches from right where we are all the way to the Manhattan Bridge, which really isn't that far. The Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge are pretty much right on top of each other on the East River. Dumbo, by the way, stands for Down Under the Manhattan Bridge Overpass. Don't forget to look for Cabby, who always makes a cameo appearance in all my 4K videos. Sometimes he's easy to spot, other times not so much. Be the first to comment on the timestamp where Cabby is, and I'll give you a shout out on my next video. And a shout out to Deborah Camacho, who found Clarice the Miss America crown in my latest Atlantic City video, the Tropicana Tour. Congratulations, Deborah. And for those of you who don't know, Deborah and Robert Camacho both live in Queens, which is a borough just north of Brooklyn. For those of you not familiar with New York City, Brooklyn is huge. It's the largest borough in the city of New York. Let's just say we removed, this is an interesting fact by the way, let's just say we removed Brooklyn from the city of New York. It would be the third most populous city in the US. It would come after New York, which would still be number 1 without Brooklyn. And then Los Angeles would come in number 2, and then Brooklyn would come in number 3 before Chicago. I did some videos a while back ago on Coney Island and Brighton Beach, which is the beach area of Brooklyn. And I gotta tell you, I took the subway and I felt like I was on that subway for over an hour. I probably was. Well, regardless, it does make stops in between, but that's just how huge this place is. And for those of you who grew up in the 70s, anyone? Mr. Carter taught some sweat hogs in this borough. And by the way, just in case you were wondering, we're going to drive around Brooklyn a little bit and then head back over the Brooklyn Bridge again, where by the way you'll see a better shot of 8 Spruce Street, that building in Manhattan that looks like it's having a meltdown, so stay tuned for all of that. In case you didn't know, New York City Department of Transportation owns, operates, and maintains 789 bridges and tunnels throughout New York, including Brooklyn, the Ed Koch Queensboro, Manhattan, and Williamsburg bridges, 24 movable bridges, and 4 tunnels. There are no tolls on bridges operated by New York City Department of Transportation. So that's to say there's pretty much no charge when you're driving around the city of New York, whether it's from one borough to another. All the bridges and tunnels are pretty much free. However, if you're entering the city from another state, say New Jersey or Connecticut, neighboring states here to New York City, you pretty much have to mortgage your house to enter the city. For example, the Holland Tunnel currently, I believe, is $17 or $18 to enter New York City. Now, if you're familiar with the New York City area, Brooklyn is known for being a hub for hipsters. Hipsters are a subculture here in Brooklyn. Fashion is one of the major markers of hipster identity. Members of the subculture typically don't self-identify as hipsters, and the word hipster is often used as a pejorative for someone who is pretentious or overly concerned with appearing trendy. Some stereotypical fashion elements of a hipster include vintage clothes, alternative fashion, or a mixture of different fashions including skinny jeans, checkered shirts, knit beanies, a full beard or deliberately attention-grabbing mustache, and thick-rimmed or lenses glasses. The subculture is often associated with indie and alternative music, and in the United States, it is mostly associated with perceived upper-middle-class white young adults who gentrify urban areas. When I was growing up, we used the term preppy, and preppies wore pink or lime green Izod shirts and had names like Biff and Buffy. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video, and if you are, give it a thumbs up, and while you're at it, if you're not subscribed to the New York channel already, subscribe right now. It really does help the channel out. And while you're at it, if you'd like to support the New York channel, just click on that thanks button right underneath the video. I appreciate your support, guys. I believe that upper roadway leads to the Manhattan Bridge, which also connects downtown Manhattan to Brooklyn. It's pretty much parallel to the Brooklyn Bridge, but it was built decades later, and I think it was built just to relieve some of the congestion on the Brooklyn Bridge. So many famous people came from Brooklyn, and I started going through the list and I realized if I mentioned them all, this would be a 7-hour video. So I made it through the F's, which is pretty much the beginning of the alphabet, but here are the names that, just some of the names that I got from A to F. Woody Allen, Scott Baio, Joy Behar, Pat Benatar, David Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam, Mel Brooks, Steve Buscemi, Busta Rhymes, Al Capone, Truman Capote, Andrew Dice Clay, Howard Cosell, Matt Damon, Tony Danza, Fab Five Freddy, Jimmy Fallon, and then I called it quits after the F's. If you want to know G through Z, just Google it. So we drove from Manhattan into the DUMBO section of Brooklyn. Not all of the DUMBO section, but some of it. And we're going to head back to Manhattan now over the Brooklyn Bridge. Way back in the early days of the New York channel, I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge both ways and did a video here on YouTube, but it was a photo video. That's how I started out, folks. I took still photos, set them to some narration, and if you're interested in seeing that, one of the earlier videos here on the New York channel, and a very interesting one, crossing the Brooklyn Bridge on foot, just check out. I'll leave a link in the upper right hand corner here for you. Alright, we're heading back over the Brooklyn Bridge into Manhattan. I am gonna let this beautiful bridge and the music speak for itself. By the way, as I mentioned, the Brooklyn Bridge is also a pedestrian bridge, one of the best walks I've ever taken. There's 8 Spruce Street again on the left-hand side, the Meltdown building. The Civic Center and Town Hall is on the right-hand side, also covered on the New York channel in earlier videos. Lots more in this series to come. Stay tuned for more of Driving Around New York City with Jeff, coming every weekend this summer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, comment, ask some questions, and most importantly, subscribe by clicking on the button on the left. You can visit all of my New York videos by clicking on the top right, or check out my videos on other favorite places to visit by clicking on the bottom right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around the city.